Namaste. Are you able to hear well? Nice. I'm happy. Okay, let us look at the text. Sound is okay, good. We are in the midst of or did we finish chapter 4:14 or are we in the midst of it? Shvetashvatara class, chapter 4:14. If somebody can tell me if we have finished it or are we still in the middle of it? Those who have been attending, they should tell regularly. Yes, anybody else? Have we finished? Are we in the middle? Okay, while the middle of that verse, okay. Anyhow, we'll start chanting the Shanti mantras and we'll meander over here. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, we'll chant 14 and 15. They kind of go together. Sukshmati Sukshmam Kalilasya Madhye Vishwasya Srashtaramane Karupam Vishwasyaikam Pariveshtitaram Jnatva Shivam Shantimatyantameti स एव काले भुवनस्य गोप्ता विश्वाधिपः सर्वभूतेषु गूढः यस्मिन् युक्ता ब्रह्मर्षयो देवताश्च तमेवं ज्ञात्वा मृत्युपाशांश्छिनक्ति. So, number 14, where are we? Yeah, just to recap, because we haven't met a little bit in the middle of this. So, Sukshma Ati Sukshmam, Sukshmat Ati Sukshmam, subtler than the subtlest, meaning that which is not capable of being objectified, that which is not available to classify according to all the kinds of attributes with which we classify things. We categorize things based on size. Here, Atma, Bhagavan, Brahman, no size. So smaller than the smallest, we have to understand from that bigger than the biggest as well, because if it's smaller than the smallest, then it becomes limited. So here, size wise, aparichinnaha, not limited by size. Sukshmat ati sukshmam. And then of course, the smaller than the smallest, such a tiny little thing, bigger than the biggest, such a huge thing. Where am I supposed to find it? Kalilasya madhye. It is there in the very makeup of the person looking hither and thither. The one who is looking is the one that is, that is sukshmat ati sukshmam. That is the one that is sukshmat ati sukshmam. And that is, and so it is available where? It is available not in some pure fantasy land, a fantasy land where the purity of consciousness, Brahman, is maintained somewhere out of this world. That's how we describe things we like very much. How was the movie? Out of this world. Meaning this world is full of all kinds of, what's the word I'm looking for? Finite and limited things. And this is, of course, out of this world. And how was the food? Out of this world. You must go to that hotel, you must eat in this restaurant. It's out of this world. And even oneself, one is trying to get out of this world so that one can have some kind of an Elysium. Elysium means some kind of a pure heaven or a pure place which is untouched by the strife which the Jagat represents. The Jagat means strife. That is why the word Kali means strife. Kali Yuga, an era marked by strife. And so, where is this Atma? Where is this Brahman, which is, where is this Atma, which is nothing but Brahman? Where is it? Right here. Right in this Jagat, except that the Jagat is not a container for Brahman. In fact, the very fabric of the Jagat, its existence, and the capacity for it to be known, its knowability, its existence, and its infinite expansion. That's what the physicists use the word, the expanding universe. But you try to ask them, where is it expanding to? So space is infinite, but at the same time, space is a construct, and so the mind, the mind, the intelligence that has construed of this space is infinite. Bhagavan, which created this space, infinite. And so where are these planets and these galaxies and these spatial bodies? All these things, where are they going? They seem to be just expanding infinitely. And this is all happening, and this understanding of Brahman is happening right here in this Jagat, because there's nothing out of this world. The planets and the galaxies cannot go out of this world, and there is no fear in the mind of the physicists that the galaxy has reached the outer edge of space and it's going to fall off somewhere. There's no place for it to fall, and wherever it falls, that is space, even if it were to fall. And so therefore, right here in the midst of this Jagat, fraught with all kinds of fears, limitations, and also when you say Jagat, remember always that we have to look at one more thing connected with the Jagat, because the Jagat does not exist on its own. What is that one more thing connected to the Jagat? That that intelligence, the mind that cognizes the Jagat, that awareness which blesses the mind to cognize the Jagat. So the Jagat is not a self-declaring entity. The Jagat doesn't say, hello, I exist. Anything in the Jagat is incapable of saying that. Even a pothole, you keep driving, the pothole doesn't advertise itself. You say, okay, I have just driven without seeing over a pothole. Why? Because you are aware of your back, which is now talking back. That's why it's called back, because it talks back. It's talking back at you, what have you done to me? And so you are the one who cognizes the things in the Jagat. You means Chaitanya, the consciousness, cognizes the things in the Jagat. So whenever you say it's happening right here in the Jagat, then the Jagat, the word Jagat should always bring in Jagataha Upalabdhisthanam. Upalabdhi means the cognition, where it is available. Upalabdhi literally means availability. So, sthanam, the place where the Jagat is available, is connected inextricably with the Jagat. So, the cognition of the Jagat is connected, is not outside of the Jagat. So, you don't cognize the Jagat somewhere else, you cognize the Jagat right here. And so, the Jagat does not, in fact, we can go so far as to say that the Jagat is a dependent reality. And everybody knows this, Jagat Mithya, Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya. You can wax eloquently and talk about this famous mantra. Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. So Jagat is Mithya. Mithya means it's a dependent reality. And we use the word dependent reality. Mithya, 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 dependent reality, dependent reality. Then we start to gloss over. We don't really, we're not in touch with the meaning all the time. And one way to be in touch with the meaning of this oft used expression, dependent reality, is to see once and for all, to be in touch with and to see what is it that the Jagat is dependent on. Yeah, you can say, oh, it's dependent on Brahman, but where is this Brahman? So, best to look at it like this. Jagat is dependent on my cognizing it. If I don't cognize it, where is the Jagat? So the Jagat has no reality other than my objectifying it. Whether I objectify it collectively like the whole universe, or I objectify it one thing at a time. 5 elements, things that have come out of the 5 elements, elementals, like this, doesn't matter. So regardless of whether I objectify the Jagat as an entity, as one entity, or I objectify the various things in the Jagat, one finite item at a time, nonetheless, the Jagat exists in, and is dependent upon my cognition. In other words, the Jagat exists as my cognition. So what do you mean? You mean that the Jagat doesn't have any objective reality? That's not, that is, going a little off from what we are talking about here. What kind of an objective reality does the Jagat have? Is it all just in my imagination? No, because if you even if you don't imagine the pothole, it is there. It is very much there. But it's a reality. It's an empirical reality that can neither be confirmed, affirmed categorically, nor denied. This is the magic, and we've seen this Mayam tu Prakritim Vidyat in the beginning of this chapter. We saw that in the last chapter. Mayinam Maheshwaram. So therefore, this whole thing is very, 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 very important. It's very important to look at it, to look at the Jagat objectively. And looking at the Jagat objectively means not trying to ascribe to it a reality that it does not have. So we don't have to go the extreme on the other side and say it is tucham. Tucham means it has no reality. No. No reality means that also is objectifiable, through the means of knowledge called anupalabdhi. There is no flower in the palm of my hand. So the flower in the palm of the hand has no reality. This is understood? No flower, na asti, flower nasti. We can say that. But you cannot say Jagan nasti. You cannot say that. Why? Because it is, there is pratiti, there is cognition. The cognition of the Jagat and the things in the Jagat are there, but what kind of a cognition is it? It is a temporary cognition. As soon as you cognize it, you know, and you inquire into it, the thing itself falls apart. You know, take flower. What constitutes flower? You know, petals are flower? No, not quite. Well, the stamen is the flower? No. The stem is the flower? No. The leaf is the flower? No, no, no. All of them put together is the flower. And then whatever is put together has got a name, a nama, and a form, rupa, called flower. A very tenuous reality, because everything and anything that is put together falls apart. And in this putting together and falling apart, starting with one's own mind, right there, this consciousness, this Bhagavan, the Bhagavan's abode is right here. And that's why it is so delicate, sukshma, delicate, subtle, because this is not, you know, for the faint of heart. This is not something where you can say, you know, you go somewhere and then there you have to, you know, like going to Badrinath. You catch a train, then you go there, then you catch a bus, then you have to walk because there's been some landslides and you have to walk to the rest of the way. And then you know, or you catch, or you go to, even better, you do Kedarnath. Then you catch a donkey and then you sit on the donkey and then you go there and then there, you know, you see Bhagavan, you know, the depiction, the form of Bhagavan. Or you go to Amarnath where you have a ice Shivalinga that forms at a certain time every, you know, winter. And then after the winter goes, you go there and have darshan of the ice Shivalinga and come back. It's not like that. This is not something to go see and then come back, because it is the very content of the seer. It is the truth of the seer. It defies any kind of categorization between the seer and the seen. What is there between seer and the seen? You know, can you say that there is a space between the seer and the seen? No. You know, whatever is seen is not outside of the awareness of the seer. And it's encapsulated in the awareness of the seer itself. So the seen resolves into the seer. But the seer is irresolute, cannot resolve into anything else. This is what the point that is being made repeatedly, you know. And the Shvetashvatara Upanishad really is a, you know, wonderful treatise into understanding this, you know, this particular concept of mithya, or this dependent reality, and how it plays out vis-a-vis that consciousness which is, you know, one's self. That's what it is. Because when you do what is called Tvam Pada Vichara, when you analyze into the understanding of what is the meaning of the word Tvam, you know, body, not Tvam, because I can objectify anything. I objectify, not I. Body is not, you know, aham, and mind is not aham, Tvam, whatever. I mean, if I say Tvam, you say aham. So body is not Tvam, mind is not Tvam, senses are not Tvam. And so what is this Tvam? That Tvam is the one who objectifies everything. You who objectify everything is what is revealed by the word you. And so this you is nothing but awareness. So everything that is finite and that is objectifiable is shaken off this concept you, and then what is there is just awareness, consciousness, what we call consciousness. And so this consciousness is available where? Right here, right now. So this consciousness can cognize the Jagat, and therefore we can say Jagataha Upalabdhisthanam. Jagataha Upalabdhisthanam, the place where the Jagat is cognized. It's not a location. When I say place, we have to put it within apostrophes. So the place only in the sense of a cognition. Only in the sense of a discrete cognition we say place. In fact, place is equal to time here, because place and time are just here constructs. We can see this very clearly. When do I cognize the Jagat? Now. But then if I cognize the Jagat 15 minutes later, will that also be now? Yes. 15 minutes later is also now. How can you say 15 minutes later is now? Because 15 minutes later, when you cognize the Jagat, you are cognizing the Jagat now. That's how. But then if I cognize something in the Jagat yesterday, is that also now? Yes. It is now in both ways. It is now because when I cognize the Jagat yesterday, that yesterday was now. Maybe 4 o'clock yesterday. But when I am recalling that I cognized the Jagat yesterday, when am I doing it? Now. This is fun. So Jagataha Upalabdhi Sthanam. Sthanam here is not a place where the awareness is confined, or where the awareness has ashraya. Because if we look at it like that, then we are committing another error. Then the place where the awareness lies, a little room for the awareness, becomes a confining aspect for this limitless awareness, consciousness, which is revealed as Bhagavan, which is you, nothing but you. So therefore you cannot say that the awareness is located, because the awareness is not located in anything. All things are as though located in awareness. The awareness cannot have a location. Then how can you say Jagataha Upalabdhi Sthanam? Because we are talking to someone who is still in the process of understanding this, who is space bound, who is time bound, who is operating very much within the space-time continuum. And so we have to point out somewhere that the Jagat is recognized. And it seems to, resonate with one's experience of the cognition of anything. There is a certain kind of a, universal experience. I know. Where do you know? Where is the knowledge? You can't say it's in my toes. You can't say it's at the tip of my nose. I know somewhere in the mind, and where that mind is itself, the mind itself has no location. It's not that when they do a, biopsy, they'll take out the mind, or when they do an autopsy, nothing. You cannot, the mind itself has no location. But for the purposes of Vyavahara, for the purposes of any kind of a empirical discussion, we say that knowledge happens in the mind. It is, knowledge takes place in the mind. So the mind becomes a faculty for all knowledge. Knowledge of the finite and also knowledge of the infinite. This is another paradox. This is the Kali. The mind is the biggest Kali because it is full of, whatever is in the Jagat is in the mind as well. In fact, it's the other way around. Whatever is in the mind is projected onto the Jagat. And so all the resentment, all the fears, all the tears, all the unresolved issues are just, vomited up on the Jagat, and then I see the Jagat tainted with all kinds of things. So this is the Kali. So the mind here, is Aupacharikam. So the Manas, the mind where the cognition takes place, is not a real place that locates this infinite consciousness, because consciousness does not have a location. In fact, the consciousness, the mind is located, as it were, in consciousness, if we really want to talk location. The mind is not outside of consciousness. But here, the mind is blessed by this consciousness. That consciousness which lights up everything, lights up the mind also to be able to be the agent of the knowledge of things in the Jagat. Yeah, that is the beauty of it. Because that which lights up the mind is not an agent, it's not a karta, it's not a jnata, it's not a pramata, but it blesses the mind to be an active agent to produce the knowledge of various things. The Jagat, things in the Jagat, all these things. So that's why we have branches and branches of knowledge. We have what is it called? History, and we have biology, microbiology, chemistry, and medicine, and we have the knowledge of the how to study the Vedas, epistemology, ontology, hermeneutics. So like this, all these things, all these branches of knowledge where you can go very, very, very deep and very, very specialized is all because the mind, the intellect, mind here includes intellect, is blessed to be the producer or the agent of the knowledge which, which it engages in, and the mind takes the credit for all the papers that it publishes, books and papers, etc. The mind takes the credit. And then what happens? And then the mind, is given the PhD. The intellect is blessed with some accolades. And what about consciousness? Consciousness just simply blesses the mind to know. To know what? The things in the Jagat. Right here, right now. And then what? It also blesses the mind to know itself. To know, to be in touch with its own Swarupa, that same consciousness. That consciousness which is self-lit, which does not need to be objectified. So Jagatah upalabdhisthanam, Jagatah adhishthanasya upalabdhisthanam eva. So the place where the Jagat is cognized is the same place, is the same faculty rather, which cognizes the content, the truth of the Jagat as mithya. Yatra yatra mithya, tatra tatra mithya, mithya's adhishthana, tatra tatra satyam, yatra yatra mithya, tatra tatra satyam. Wherever there is mithya, there itself is satyam, because mithya cannot live without satyam. So it's a codependent relationship. Satyam also cries when mithya is not there. No, satyam can live without mithya. Mithya can't live without satyam. Okay. So now what do we have here? It's a mind-boggling situation. So the mind, which is the agent of knowledge for things that are in the Jagat, that same mind knows itself without being an agent. Because it cannot be the agent of knowledge of consciousness. Because if it is the agent, then the consciousness is the object of that knowledge. Then the consciousness that we are trying to understand as oneself becomes, there is a duality. Object-subject duality is not resolved. How will it be resolved? It will be resolved when the mind is no longer the agent of knowledge, because the mind does not produce consciousness, and the mind does not even, in a way, try to, it does not produce consciousness. Knowledge, in fact, is not produced. Only PhD theses are produced. Knowledge is not produced. Knowledge is, and it is discovered. It is discovered. And so therefore, what is produced here? What is produced is nothing but a wonderful, paradoxical operation, where the same mind, which touts itself as the agent of knowledge of everything that is finite, everything that is objectifiable, knows itself as the infinite without being an agent. In other words, this knowledge of oneself happens in the mind, but not by the mind. That's the whole thing. In fact, all knowledge happens in the mind. But the mind, in the case of in the case of all these other branches of knowledge, the mind quickly, aided by Mr. Ahankara or Ms. Ahankara, takes the credit. So this is very fascinating. That Jagataha Upalabdhi Sthanam, the place or the faculty which cognizes the Jagat as finite, is the same place, is the same faculty which cognizes itself as infinite. And so that's why it is Sukshmat Ati Sukshmam. And then what? Kalilasya Madhye. Kalilasya Madhye we have seen in detail. Right here in the midst of all kinds of finitude, strife, fears and tears. Vishvasya Srashta. Srashtru is the word. Srashta means creator. Aneka Rupam. So right here in the midst of all strife and all kinds of limitations, all kinds of permutations, combinations, etc., Vishvasya Srashta, Bhagavan, this consciousness now has a name. Why? Because when we talk of the Jagat, we have to talk of Bhagavan. No, but I don't like Bhagavan. Can we just talk of Jagat without Bhagavan? Please. No. If you talk of Jagat, Bhagavan comes along. This is one set of people. Allergy towards Bhagavan. I want to talk of Jagat and Atma and Brahman. I like Brahman. I don't like Bhagavan. Tough. Yes. Tough luck. You cannot say, it's not like saying you go to a restaurant and say, I'll have the salad without the dressing. Huh? So here, Jagat is the salad and Bhagavan is the dressing. You can't do that. You cannot say, I'll have the salad, but I don't like the dressing, so don't put this dressing. And in fact, the Jagat is the dressing. That's what it is. Jagat is the window trims, window dressing. That's all it is. Bhagavan is the one who populates this universe as the Jagat, but without giving up one's nature. Otherwise what will we say? Bhagavan has become the Jagat. No more Bhagavan, Bhagavan has become the Jagat. Like, you make a, what is that? Some Play-Doh. You take some Play-Doh and you break off a piece and make a little figurine. Then that figurine is lonely. Then you break off another piece and you make another figurine. Okay, now there are two friends. They are, you can make them walking. They are going to the market. Oh, but where is the market? Then you break off another piece and you make a little kind of a structure. And then what kind of a market without things to buy? Okay, then you break off small little pieces and make a red colored carrot, green colored something, cabbage, and purple colored eggplant. You make all these things, and then but where will you put it? Oh, that's okay. I'll break off another piece and make a little basket and put all these vegetables in the basket. But the vegetables don't sell themselves. Oh yeah, right. Let me just make a little another 2-3 figurines who are the vendors, and so now we have a marketplace, a farmer's market. So all of them are going. And then, and then what? What happened to your Play-Doh? You started off with this much. By the time you made the Jagat, because then they can't just go like that. You need some grass, you need some little cows, make it a bucolic scenery. Then you need a little fence to hold the cows. Then you need some, you make a little sky with clouds, Play-Doh clouds. And then you, fix up a few flying birds. And then you have a little, you have a little stream flowing, all this, and then you suddenly realized, oh no, what happened? I have run out of the dough. So here also, this Play-Doh is manifest as the Jagat, but what has happened? It has become the Jagat. Huh? Play-Doh, Clay-Doh, whatever it is, there is no more dough. And so Bhagavan has become what? Bhagavan has become the Jagat. And that is, that is what has happened. Bhagavan has become the Jagat. And then there is no more Bhagavan. Bhagavan wore himself out. You cannot say that. You cannot say Bhagavan wore himself out. So this Vishwa means, Vividha Pratyaya Gamyam Vishwam, that which is available for many cognitions. That which is available for various cognitions, that which is cognized through many ways, is called Vividha Pratyaya Gamyam, and that is the name of that is the meaning of the word Vishwa, Vishwasya, of this Vishwa. Srashta, the creator of this Jagat, is found in the midst of the Jagat. Same thing you can say about the Play-Doh. The Play-Doh is the material from which this Play-Doh Jagat is made, and this material is very much there in the Jagat. But there is a big difference. Here Bhagavan has not become the Jagat, where the Play-Doh has become the Jagat. That is one difference. Second difference is the material has become the Play-Doh Jagat, but the maker is always separate from the material. The maker is you. You are the one who operated the Play-Doh and patted it and kneaded it and made various shapes and perhaps took scissors and trimmed it to get better edges and then set it in places. You are the architect which used the Play-Doh. You are separate from the Play-Doh. And you can say the Play-Doh is non-separate from the Play-Doh Jagat, but unfortunately the Play-Doh has become the Jagat. We have no such problem with the universe. Why? Because that which is, that consciousness which has manifested itself as the Jagat, is an as though manifestation. Like even your dream. If you dream of a number of things, you dream of a huge gathering, maybe a rally, you're attending a protest rally, let us say, in the dream, and there are thousands and hundreds of people, hundreds upon thousands of people are there, and what are they all doing? They're doing various things. One is holding a sign, and the other one is, shouting out some slogans. The third one is catching up with some friends and talking to the people. The fourth one is painting something so that people can do this. The fifth one is helping people and saying go this side, this is where the march is. The sixth one is taking reports on who is being arrested and all these things. Seventh one is taking photos. Like this, there are thousands of, hundreds of thousands of people. You are also one of them. And then there are signs, there are slogans, there is, marches going on. And you are also there, where dream protest, dream marches, dream Jagat. Yeah, this is dream Washington DC. You have gone, let us say, dream city. And then what happens? All the city is nothing but you. The thousands of, people, thousands of million people, let's say there are. All those million peoples are you. What about the props? The street signs is you. It's all you. The signs that everybody is holding up, that's you. It's not outside of your consciousness. The whole thing is nothing but you. And then what? But then you haven't changed or lost anything in the process of crafting this dream Jagat. A few more people can come and join the protest, nothing lost. A few more people can say, I'm throwing away my sign, I'm tired, I'm going home, nothing is lost. Because that dream depends entirely upon you, and without undergoing any change, you have manifested this dream. This is how Bhagavan is. Same way. Because there are two kinds of things that, two ways of creating things. Srashta means creator. So two ways of creating things. One is Swarupa Parityagena Rupantarapattihi. Rupantarapattihi means change, transformation. So Rupantarapattihi, a transformation is gained. How? Swarupa, Swaswarupa, one's own nature, Parityagena. So it is called a certain kind of a creative martyrdom. So the creative agent, the agent that of creation, martyrs itself to become the effect. So the cause becomes the effect. Martyrs itself, it is no longer the cause, it gives up causality, it gives up everything, and then it just has become, it's happy to become the effect. Like even milk into yogurt. So before there was milk, now there is only dadhi. Dadhi means yogurt. Why? Because in the process of, in the process of creating the yogurt, the material called milk has become the yogurt. It cannot be now retrieved in the form of milk. This is, this is an example of swarupa parityagena rupantarapattihi. But then you take another example, gold and ornament. So the shine of the ornament is the shine of gold, the weight of the ornament is the weight of gold, the color of the ornament belongs to gold. In fact, there is no such thing called ornament. The gold is just manifest as the ornament. That is the second kind of change. It's more of an as though change. The change is only in the form of what we call Namarupa change, name and form, where the change occurs swaswarupa aparityagena, without giving up its nature, it manifests as something else. So the second kind of a, example of the dream and the gold is what we have to understand, for the Jagat as well. So Bhagavan here, Vishwasya Srashta, the Bhagavan has, Aneka Rupam is available in the form of many, 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 many names, many, many akaras, many, many forms, where Kalilasya Madhye, in this strife-ridden, fear-ridden, tear-ridden samsara called Jagat, right here in the midst of samsara, is available. And then what is the next word? Vishwasya ekam pariveshtitaram. Vishwasya ekam, ekam pariveshtita. Ekam goes with pariveshtitaram. Vishwasya ekam pariveshtitaram. Because the Upanishad, the teachers in the Upanishad do not want you to make the mistake of saying, Aneka, Anekaha, Ishvaraha, Santi. What is that? There are many Ishvaras. Why? Because, you can try to look at it logically. There are many Bhagavans. Why? When did you last try to look at the Jagat? Just now I'm looking at the Jagat all the time. See how many leaves are there on that tree. Can you count? No, it's too much. And then that is one tree. Look at the other tree with all these other kinds of leaves. Can you count that? No. So even one tree's leaf you can't count, and you can't count what to talk of all the other trees. So foliage wise itself there is infinite, infinite numbers of things that you cannot count. And how can one person make all these things? It is impossible. Who says? Nayayika, the logician says this. The logician says, use your brains. What has, why do you have brains? Brains have been given to make use of it or not? Yeah, that is also true. Okay, then use them. Keep quiet and use your brains. And can't you see that even to make a simple prasada, not to be confused with prasada. Prasada means a mansion, palace. So, prasada is a palace. So even to build a palace, what a grand palace, what to talk of this, the magnitude of the Jagat, the stars, everything, and the planets, etc. What to talk of all of them, even to make a little, palace. How many people are needed? How many people are needed? My God, you need artisans who will, chisel various things to be put on the sides, chisel with stone and wood. You need carpenters. You need masons. You need, before all that, you need somebody who draws up the blueprint, the plan, and then you need somebody who digs. You need workers and all these things. And then they all have to coordinate, because you can't send in the artisans and the carpenters in the beginning, because what are they going to do? So for them to put the windows in, they have to be little golakas, places where the windows go in, the windows and doors. Otherwise, what will they do? They can't just, dream up the size of the place, the aperture where the window frame goes. That is already should be there, and that should be measurable, and then only they will make the window and the doors. And the artisan which puts the final polish and carvings, you can't call them in the beginning. So there is a krama there. So one comes and the other one comes, and first the blueprint is made, and the rooms are all, and the windows and all are there on paper. Otherwise you'll build a room and you'll say, ayyo, I forgot to put a door, I have built a room but I can't enter it. So all these problems should not be there. So everything has a krama, and then many people are involved. Many people are involved. Then for the palace you need places where the ventilation is there, and then you need places where the lamps can be put, the oil lamps, torches, so that it is illuminated. All this has to be put. And so therefore what the logician says, idam jagat aneka kartrikam, aneka srashta. सृष्टा सृष्टारौ सृष्टारः सृष्टारः अनेक सृष्टारः अस्य जगतः. So for this jagat there are many creators, because what are you crazy? Look, even to make a palace, a big mansion, you need so many people. So many people are involved. And then what to talk of this whole jagat? One palace itself cannot be handled properly. What to talk of this entire jagat? And so, idam jagat aneka kartrikam. This jagat has many gods, many ishvaras. Why? Anekatmakatvat, because it has what is called the attribute of anekatmakatvam. Anekatmakatvam means the manifoldness. It is not ekatma. It is not one in nature. It is many different things. Look at the continents, look at the people therein, and look at their customs, and each one is different than the other. Look at how they behave. Look at what each person looks like. Even though they say that everybody has a doppelganger. Doppelganger means somebody who looks like you. So everybody has a doppelganger, they say. If you just look around, you will eventually find somebody who looks just like you. Pujya Swamiji always used to say that he had a doppelganger by the name of another Swami, one Swami Ishwarananda, who lived in Mount Abu. And so whenever people used to come, they used to get confused if they saw the Swamis elsewhere. If they saw Swami Ishwarananda at an airport, or they saw Swami Dayananda ji somewhere, else, in a plane or at the airport or some other city, they would get confused. They would say, oh, they would come to Pujya Swamiji and say, oh, Swamiji, when did you come from Mount Abu? And immediately Swamiji would know that this namaskar this person did to me is not mine. It belongs to Swami Ishwarananda ji. And so when they used to meet, the two of them, sometimes their paths used to cross, and then the conversation between them was what? How many my namaskars you have to give me, and how many of your namaskars of your devotees I have collected to give you. Let us settle the accounts, they used to joke. And I have met this Swami Ishwarananda. He was invited to give some talks in Coimbatore one time when I was there, and it was very, the resemblance was uncanny. But that apart, but people don't really look like one another. Very hard, you have to find somebody to look like you. Each person looks different, and the one hand doesn't look like the other. If you look, there'll be changes. In fact, forget hands, one side of the face does not look like the other. Yeah, that's why when describing Lord Rama, the epithet is Sama. Sama means the left side looks exactly like the right side. But if you were to put a line right here, in the middle all the way. If we were to put a line, then you will see that the left eye may be a little smaller, or the left eyebrow is a little lower, the right one is raised up higher, something or the other will be there. The cheekbones are different, something will be there. So in this manifoldness, how can it be? You know, this is called anekatmakatvam. So idam jagat anekakartrikam. This jagat has to have many creators, because look how diverse it is. Even one side of your face doesn't look like the other side of your face. So what to talk of one person and another person? What to talk of your hands, your legs? And so therefore what? Anekatmakatvat prasadadivat. That is the hetu. Hetu means it's the postulate. The logic here is in the prasadadivat. So just like constructing mansions, etc., you know, in the construction of mansions, etc., you have many kartas, many doers, many agents. Why not say that? Not even why not say, you have to say, the logician argues, you have to say that this jagat also has many creators, because look at how complex a entity it is. It is a very complex entity. So it has many creators. And this is to avoid this kind of a thing. Here the Upanishad goes directly to say Vishwasya Ekam. Yeah, not many creators, Ekam. How do you say? Because I am the Upanishad. And Ishvara is not objectified by logic. Logic is not a way. Logic means inference. Inference is not a means of knowledge to reveal Ishvara. Simple. Logic means induction, deduction. That is just pure arthapati, inference, or anumana. One step inference, many step inferences. This is not, you cannot infer Ishvara, because Bhagavan is not a product of inference. In fact, the content of the inferer is Bhagavan. The ability to infer is Bhagavan. So there is, you know, the nature of the inferer is Bhagavan, so you cannot infer Bhagavan. So therefore there is a contradiction there. It's not the proper means of knowledge. The proper means of knowledge is the Shabda Pramana, the words of the Upanishads handled by a teacher. Handled by the teacher. And here what, you know, handled by the teacher means the teacher who has been taught by her teacher, his teacher, her teacher, his teacher. Then you have this understanding that this is what it is. What we are talking of here is Ekam Pariveshtitaram. The Upanishad declares that there are not many Ishvaras. But why not? I like the concept of diversity. I like for there to be many Ishvaras. Why can't we all get along? Let there be many Ishvaras. Many need not be something to be afraid of. Ayyo, what to tell such a person, you know? No, let's accommodate many Ishvaras. It's not about accommodation. Why? Because the existence of many Ishvaras is contradictory to your search for oneness. It all comes back to you. What is the Upanishad for? To address your search for oneness. To, you know, dismantle your loneliness, your alienation, your cut-offness, your disconnectedness from the whole Jagat. That's what it is. This is for that. The reason why this exists, the teaching exists, is to connect you to the universe. But aren't I already connected? Yes. Then what is the Upanishad doing? Because do you know that you are connected? No, I don't know that I'm connected. Okay, then shut up. The Upanishad is as though, you know, forging your connection to the universe by revealing that you are non-separate from both the universe and the maker of the universe. You're non-separate from the universe, you're non-separate from the maker of the universe, and that is what is at the heart of your longing. All the longing is for the sense of belonging first, and is the then which graduates or morphs into a sense of oneness. A non-separation from me and the source, between me and the source, is in the heart of every longing, is at the heart of every want. That is what, when not understood, makes one into a hopelessly wanting person who keeps wanting this and that because the real want is not recognized. The real want is to drop the ignorance that separates me from the universe and from the creator of the universe. I want to be one with everything. That means there is only one thing. And that one is what is revealed in keeping with my, pursuit, in keeping with my purushartha, moksha. Moksha means freedom from that manyness, freedom from avarna, where I look upon the many as separate, discrete from me, which becomes the cause of sorrow and fear, because if I am this, I can't be that. If I am that, I can't be this. So the sense of limitation does not go away. So what kind of a, what kind of a postulate is this, that, there are many Ishvaras? Because many Ishvaras will create more separation. That's then each Ishvara is limited as you. And so as limited as you feel. And so what is the use? So therefore the Ishvara-ness is revealed. What is Ishvara? The nature of Ishvara is revealed by the Upanishad. And here what the Upanishad, I don't know how they can get many out of this, how they can get any other quote unquote school of thought out of this. I really don't know. It's very clear. Vishvasya ekam. Ekam means non-dually one. Pariveshtitaram, from, wish, to envelop. That which envelops, Murdhanya Sha, the Sha is not palatal, the Sha is cerebral. So the palatal Sha, wish, if you say, that means to enter. Here it means to embrace, to envelop. Vishvasya ekam pariveshtitaram, pariveshtitru. Pariveshtitru means pariveshtru. Pariveshtru means the one who envelops the entire Jagat, that one being, that one infinite, limitless consciousness that envelops the entire Jagat. What about that being? Jnatva, knowing it as oneself, knowing this Bhagavan as oneself. And who is this Bhagavan? Here the word Shiva is used. Shivam Jnatva. So Shiva is used. Shivam Jnatva Shantim Atyantam Eti. Shantim Atyantam Eti. Shanti here is the peace. One gains peace. And how does one gain peace? What kind of peace? Ati Antam. Antam Atitya Gacchati. Atyeti. Shantim Atyeti. Atyeti means that which, Atyantam Shantim Eti. That which crosses all endings. Antam Atitya Gacchati. Meaning what? Endless Shanti. Oh, that sounds wonderful, yeah? That's what it is. Endless Shanti. One gains knowing this Bhagavan as Shiva, as that auspicious one who is free of all duality and who is of the nature of oneself. One gains, lasting and what? And a Shanti that is free of time, free of place. And Shanti here means Sukha, happiness, Ananda. That Ananda is oneself. So more we shall see next week. Okay? Yeah. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.